Welcome back to The Matrix. Crawford-Clark close-up. Back in the summer of 1999, audiences worldwide were posed with a conundrum. What is The Matrix? Is it reality or a computer-generated world created to blind us all from the truth of our own existence? Whether you're interested or not, you can't deny that it's an intriguing premise for a sci-fi action flick, and one which filmmakers the Wachowski brothers, nowadays referred to as Lana and Lily, managed to stretch out over more than 6 hours across a trilogy of blockbuster movies, as well as spin-offs such as The Animatrix. The teaser trailer curiously and perhaps a little ominously promised that in 1999 The Matrix has you, whilst giving audiences an adrenaline rush of quickly edited samples of what to expect from the film minus any dialogue. The best kinds of trailers, of course, because it left us guessing when we sat down to watch as to what we were about to witness, aside, that is, from a hell of a lot of action and cool stunt work. The Matrix arrived at pretty much the perfect time. The anxiety of the last year of the 20th century and what to expect in the turn of the 21st century preoccupied minds. Would computers crash? Would our identities be stolen? And the Matrix seemed to tap into our subconscious, assuring us with the red and blue pill MacGuffin that we all have a choice. Be Neo and ambitiously step down the rabbit hole to other possibilities, or take the easy option and believe whatever you want to believe. If you decided to watch The Matrix in 1999, you were guaranteed groundbreaking visual effects work, and those visual effects largely still hold up very well as the film celebrates its 20th anniversary. The cast of characters sell the narrative brilliantly, and there's little preamble and exposition before we're launched headfirst into this world, witnessing everything through the eyes of Keanu Reeves, inspired casting as Neo, a computer hacker who has been driven by the question, what is The Matrix? The problem is that Lawrence Fishburne's brilliant Morpheus is building Neo up as the One, the saviour of Zion, the last inhabitants in the world, residing in the last remaining city in the world. We've stepped over 200 years into the future, where people aren't born, they're grown like seeds into a barren landscape overrun by machines. Morpheus believes in the prophecy that Neo has arrived to end the war between Zion and the machines. Even if the technical mumbo-jumbo sits a bit heavy for you, Keanu Reeves, Lawrence Fishburne, Carrie-Anne Moss and Hugo Weaving lead a stellar cast in an ambitious, highly engaging sci-fi adventure that made audiences sit up and take notice. The first film also cleaned up in the technical categories at the Oscars, bagging awards for film editing, sound effects editing and visual effects, all well deserved. The attention to detail on show in the first film in particular is staggering. The opening action sequence alone, involving Trinity being pursued by Agent Smith, took 6 months of training to accomplish. Lawrence Fishburne himself stated that after reading the initial script, he doubted any studio would ever greenlight the picture because it was so smart and unlike anything anyone had ever seen. Another piece of trivia for film fans, Will Smith was the first choice to play protagonist Neo, but he turned down the role in order to film Wild Wild West, which a big part of him surely regrets, even though he concedes that Reeves makes a terrific Neo. The Matrix was clearly a labour of love for the Wachowskis, having sat on the idea for over 5 years and making their way through 14 drafts of the screenplay. In 1999, that idea came to fruition, and it still impresses to this day. I had the pleasure to watch a print of The Matrix a couple of weeks ago in the cinema to celebrate the film's 20th anniversary, and whilst it was far from the 4K print that was promised, it was still thrilling to see what audiences would have witnessed back in 1999 with fresher eyes. The Matrix had us, and it still refuses to let go. From Crawford-Clark Close-Up. Whilst we're discussing the original film, we're also taking a look back at the 2 sequels, Reloaded and Revolutions, released 6 months apart in May and November 2003, respectively. The big question on everyone's lips this time around, 4 years after the original, was, hasn't the story already been told? How much further can we go with The Matrix? The Wachowskis have since stated in interviews that the idea was always for a trilogy of films, and so production began in 2002 on the 2 sequels, filmed back-to-back, alongside a video game, Enter the Matrix. Reloaded brings us straight into the story, set 6 months after the events of the first, with Neo and the inhabitants of Zion, seen for the first time in the trilogy in this second instalment, estimating that they have 72 hours before the machines breach the walls of Zion and destroy the city and its dwellers. Neo and Trinity are together, and Neo is plagued by dreams of having to rescue Trinity from death against agents. The action is ramped up tenfold for this second film, and whilst some set pieces work well, the freeway chase is still one of the most outstanding visual achievements in the genre some 15 years on, the film suffers for its deep expositional scenes, most especially the scene where Neo meets the architect. Neo has also become an almost superhero being, flying at speed with superhuman strengths, and there's notable CGI in sequences here for the sake of it, which, whilst used on the first film, was not nearly as obvious that time. Just take a look at the scene after Neo consults with the Oracle when he comes face to face with hundreds of agents. It's a little bit ludicrous. Whilst it's fun to see these actors reprising their brilliantly nuanced characters from first time around, and there's also some solid action work done for real, Reloaded feels like a largely pointless exercise. From Crawford-Clark Close-Up...
Take a chance on me.
Sorry. And so November 2003 arrived, and with it came the promise at the end of Trilogy Middle Reloaded that everything that has a beginning has an end, and Revolution certainly does step up the action and the stakes to round out the trilogy fairly well. Whilst these sequels are far too long for their own good, the key set pieces are all handled well here, from Neo and Trinity breaking out from Zion to go on their own mission, to the machines declaring war on Zion. It's a loud, rambunctious affair with plenty of solid effects work. The problem with Revolutions is much the same as Reloaded, however. Was it really necessary to spread Neo's story out over 3 films? You wouldn't hear Keanu Reeves complaining, of course. The films undoubtedly made him a bigger household name than he already was, and this trilogy capper alone apparently earned him a hefty $15 million. With its biblical references aside, Revolutions does conclude the story well and cement the trilogy as a game-changer in the genre, despite its flaws and overabundance of exposition in the sequels that frankly didn't need the screen time they were given. From Crawford-Clark Close-Up...
Take a chance on me.
Sorry. So there you have it, our quick thoughts on the Matrix trilogy as the first film is celebrating its 20th anniversary this year. What are your thoughts on all 3 films in the trilogy? Have you seen all 3, or did you give up after the first? Perhaps this isn't the last we've seen of the Wachowskis' vision, as rumour has it a reboot of the story is coming in the next couple of years. Time will tell, but with the advancements of technology and photorealism, you can bet that if The Matrix does indeed get a second life, it's going to be aesthetically pleasing, if nothing else. If you enjoyed our little retrospective and would like to be notified when we publish new content on the channel, please subscribe to Crawford-Clark Close-Up at the top of the page. You can find us on social media, on Facebook and Twitter, and you can drop us an email with suggestions for future reviews on the channel to crawfordclarkcloseup@gmail.com. Stay tuned to the channel, as next we'll be celebrating our 100th video with a look at 100 of our favourite movies of all time. Will some of your own favourites feature on our list? Thanks for watching, and until next time, that's a wrap.